Good morning. Happy Thursday. Today is Thursday, October 17th, and I am your morning witch. And we're going to throw back to something that, maybe I would have talked about sooner if I was thinking about it, but it's something I think about, but not everybody does. So we've been talking about ancestral worship, right? And the thing is that I know a lot of my followers, not all of my followers, but I know a lot of my followers have a pagan lifestyle that they practice, right? So there's something that we need to acknowledge here. And I guess I'll cover the same for any Christian followers I may have here in a second, but something to acknowledge from the pagan followers, okay? As you are worshiping your ancestors, the most recent ones, most likely somewhere in the last 2,000 years, these are probably Christian, Catholic, maybe Jewish or Muslim even, practicing peoples, right? These ancestors, and they deserve our acknowledgement and our worship, even if, we wish that they would have kept our family line not Catholic. Like, they had to survive, otherwise you might not have been here. They might have gotten killed, okay? That's something to acknowledge, and that's something to think about as we worship these ancestors, because if you think about it, my Catholic, Eastern European Catholic great-grandmother, she would absolutely not appreciate me, probably leaving a very, very pagan idol for her. She would appreciate me venerating my ancestors, because ancestral worship is very big in Slavic practice, even in the Catholic line of that practice, right? Not just Rodnofri, but the Catholics, they practice ancestor worship as well, because it's very big in that culture. However, that said, they still, there's a faction of my ancestors that would absolutely not appreciate necessarily pagan traditions, right? And I accept that, and I honor them in ways that I'm going to honor them anyway. But I also, I acknowledge that they were Catholic practicing individuals. I acknowledge that, they idolized, St. Christopher and the Virgin Mary. And actually, in a way, my family venerates that because not only is my mother, very much still a practicing person of an Abrahamic faith, but my middle daughter seems to feel called to Mary and has Mary idols everywhere. And I mean, I got her a cross when I was at Hobby Lobby, just so that she could, honor those ancestors, or not honor her, but practice the path that she wants, is what I mean. And so I guess the other end of that is, for any of my Christian viewers, go far enough back and you do have pagan ancestors. So, maybe don't demonize. And if you're watching my channel, you probably don't demonize pagan people, but, everybody's different. And it's just something that we need to acknowledge as we come down this ancestral path. Like, our ancestors, some of them practiced what we're practicing, and some of them did not. Any which way you slice it, whatever religion or path you're looking at it from, because again, far enough back you go, we all have common ancestors, right? So like, far enough back you go, they weren't Christian, or they were Christian, or the blade cuts every which way on this statement. And it's just, when you're on an ancestral path or you are venerating your ancestors, it's very much something to keep in mind and acknowledge. Now, I am on a path of trying to find the closest to what my pagan ancestors would have practiced, and practicing that, but every step of the way acknowledging my Catholic ancestors left that life for survival, and some of them left it, in name, and kept practicing, and I appreciate every one of them for whatever contribution they've made to making me who I am. But in doing so, I acknowledge them for who they were. And I'm not telling you what to do. I can't tell you how to honor your ancestors or how not to. But I am saying it is something that you should probably keep in mind as you go down an ancestral path, because some of our ancestors maybe wouldn't appreciate being referred to as a witch if it's like 200 years ago. Like, to them, that's not a compliment. So maybe you have an ancestor that has been pagan since the you know what I mean? Like, and so this doesn't apply to you, so this isn't intended for you, and it's not intended to offend anybody. It's just intended to make you think, because a lot of people put it where, like, those ancestors, how am I trying to phrase this? We don't think about the world our ancestors lived in as we talk about the choices they made. And that's not very fair of us. And that's okay. I mean, you know, but when we're practicing ancestral worship, we should try to find those levels of understanding, even if it's just for a level of understanding, because I'm still going to give pagan offerings and pagan acknowledgement and pagan ritual and ceremony around my ancestors that were Catholic. That's just all there is to it, because I do venerate them and I love them, and I hope that, you know, whether they agree with me not being Catholic, I hope they accept the honorings and appreciate the honorings, and I do believe they do, which is why I continue. I'm going to stop rambling now. I hope you get the point. Happy Thursday.